And so how are businesses feeling that tonight? And what could today's actions mean for major industries like California's agricultural sector? ABC's Becca Habegger joins us in studio after speaking with economists and growers today. Becca.
Yeah, Alex, President Trump says these tariffs will help American farmers and ranchers, but farmers and ag economists tell me they're worried, and they think this will not only hurt California farmers, but also California consumers at the grocery store.
Ultimately, more production at home will mean stronger competition and lower prices for consumers.
On Wednesday, President Donald Trump announced tariffs of at least 10% on other nations.
With today's actions, we're also standing up for our great farmers and ranchers who are brutalized by nations all over the world.
But California's ag sector, which produces more than 400 commodities and whose annual exports exceed $20 billion over the past decade, is worried. Last month, in anticipation of these tariffs, a coalition of more than 20 major California agriculture groups, including the Farm Bureau, wrote a letter to California's congressional delegation saying, "We remain concerned that broad-based tariffs will disrupt agricultural markets both in the short and long term."
There are no winners in a trade war like this.
Colin Carter is professor emeritus with UC Davis's Department of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences. He says Americans could start seeing higher prices at the grocery store in coming weeks.
You know, the United States imports around 60% of its fresh fruit and 35% of its fresh vegetables. So if you talk about avocados, they're probably going to go up, 45 cents each. Lemons, limes, bell peppers, tomatoes, there's a long list of products that are subject to high tariffs.
But even agricultural products produced here in California will be affected, says UC Davis Assistant Professor of Cooperative Extension James Sayer.
Even if you're buying produce from a Californian farm, because there's less supply and demand sort of dictates that the prices for all goods are going to go up. And so any good in which we're importing some amount right now that's subject to an import tariff, we could see price increases on.
He says blueberries, bananas, cucumbers, garlic, avocados, and clementines are among the many products that could be affected by tariffs.
And most of those costs will get passed on to consumers.
If a trade war really takes hold, that will be very challenging for the industry.
Will Callis is Export Program Coordinator with the California Cherry Board and also a cherry grower himself. He says on average, about a quarter of California's cherry crop is exported every year, about half of that going to Canada.
With the tariffs announced today, it just remains to be seen how other countries respond. Our other top export markets are Japan and Korea. Those are incredibly valuable export markets for California cherries. And if for some reason they were to retaliate with tariffs against California cherries, regardless of the crop size, that would cause challenges.
All right, so Becca has been following this for us, and we do want to mention California ag leaders and economists. They're really pointing to an example from Trump's first term. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, folks might recall in 2018, President Trump implemented tariffs on certain countries like China that prompted retaliatory tariffs from them in return. Now, in that letter from California ag organizations to Congress members, they point out that those tariffs hurt California producers, and a nearly $15 billion taxpayer-funded bailout from the federal government meant to provide relief didn't do much for California farmers and ranchers. Most of that bailout money went to farmers in the Midwest. Now, for his part, President Trump claims his 2018 tariffs were a success, although Alex, economists I spoke with today tell me they disagree with that statement.
All right, Becca, thank you.